Hi, I'm Carrie. Welcome to my very first YouTube video. The first thing that you're going to notice is that this is probably going to be pretty rough and unedited. I'll probably babble and get off topic. As I said, it's my first one and I haven't learned how to do anything more fancy than sit in front of a camera and talk. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Start out by telling you a little bit about myself and my background, and then I'll branch into a little bit about what I want to do with this channel. Hopefully this first video will be kind of short so that I'm not boring you, because it's probably going to be mostly talking. But I do have a couple whips over here that I will pull out to show you at the end. So a little bit about myself. During the day I'm a forensic DNA analyst, which is the DNA in DNA Geek crafts. I am a fangirl. I like geeky stuff. I'm into a lot of different fandoms. That's the geek in DNA Geek Crafts, and obviously I craft, which is why I'm here and hopefully why you're watching. In terms of my skills, I am a cross-stitcher primarily. I also knit and sew a little bit. I learned all of those through 4-H when I was very young, so I've been knitting since I was 8 and cross-stitching and sewing since I was 9. My skills are really basic in all three. I can sew a simple dress off a pattern. I can knit a blanket, something that's very straightforward, not a lot of fancy stitches, not a lot of dropping and adding, a scarf, maybe something like that. And for cross-stitch, I can do the basic full, half, quarter, three-quarter, backstitch. At one point, I think I was able to do a French knot, but I can't anymore because they're evil, and we don't talk about French knots, at least not on my channel. One thing that I don't do is I am not a pattern designer, so anything that I show you is going to be something that I got a pattern from a different individual. All of the individuals whose patterns I use will be mentioned in the episode notes for each episode, and will be linked in the accompanying blog post that will be posted around the same time as the video. So none of it's mine. I'm just the stitcher. Maybe someday I would like to design. I'm not planning to sell any of these for profit. But if I mention an artist and you like their work, please do go out and support them. Now, a little bit about what I'd like this channel to be. One thing I am is a voracious learner. I like to learn a bunch of different skills. I've been in school more than I've been out of school, just doing studying different subjects. It's kind of irritating to a lot of my friends. So that's kind of what I want this channel to be for me, as a learning experience, not only in how to make a YouTube channel, but in how to develop different skills. I've started a list of skills that I'd like to develop, both as a sewer, as a cross-stitcher, as a knitter, things I already know how to do, and basically refining my skills there, but also things that I'd like to learn how to do. And I've extended it into a lot of different areas of crafting that I would like to learn. And one reason I did this is a personal reason. I hate attempting new things where I might fail. I hate looking stupid, feeling like I look stupid. Obviously, I don't look stupid. Everybody has to learn somehow. But I have a hard time getting over that mindset. Wow, first episode and we're already getting deep. Anyway, I have a hard time getting over that mindset. I know other people that have the same thing. So this is kind of a shock therapy way for me to get over that. I'm going to take something I've never done before. I've never been really good and dexterous with my hands at the very first attempt on anything. So I'm going to fail the first couple times I do something. And I'm going to fail on camera, which is going to be something that's pretty hard for me, but I also think it's an important lesson. You're not good at something the first time that you start out on it, and I think sometimes when we watch tutorials on how to do things, we forget that the people that are that are showing you those, yes, they make it look easy, but they may have done it 100 times, 1,000 times. They may be a professional that knows how to do this. So that's the second reason that I wanted to start a channel where I videotape myself learning things, is I think that there's something to be said for watching someone else learn something. And that is, I'm not sure how to explain it. I'm going to try, and hopefully this will track for someone. But I think sometimes when you start to learn something, there are common mistakes that people make that are just a little bit off. You watched the person do it and you tried to do it yourself and it didn't turn out right. And there was just this little tiny thing that you did wrong. And that it's something that is common, like with making French knots. I'll tell you one thing that I always do is my French knot's always about that far off of the fabric. I'm sure a lot of people do that. Why do a lot of people do that? What am I doing different from the person in the tutorial whose French knot was perfect and sat right on the fabric? And how do I get from where I am to there? And I think a lot of times when you watch a nice polished finished tutorial, you don't get that. You don't get from that common mistake to how to fix it. And people spend a lot of time practicing things and learning on their own, which is good in its own right. But when just having someone there with you pointing it out can fix that like that. So that's what I thought I might do. Get on camera, I'll try something. Some of these things I'll be teaching myself. Some of these things I have friends that are willing to teach me. And in those are the cases where I'm hoping I'll make that stupid mistake that's just a little off, that's really common, and the person who's watching me over my shoulder can say, hey, no, here's what you did wrong. Here's how you fix it. And that'll help me, and it'll help the viewer that might have been about to make that same little mistake and save you a lot of frustrating trial and error. Does that make any sense to anyone? I hope so. Anyway, that is what I would like to do with my channel. Some of the things that I'd like to work on, I've got a list here. In terms of learning new skills, I'd like to try some fabric dyeing. I know I said we'll never mention French knots on this channel, but maybe I'll finally learn how to make French knots. It's on my list. I cosplay. Right now I buy a lot of my costume pieces, but I would like to learn how to design clothing and design a sewing pattern that I can use to actually sew my own costumes. Maybe do some foam work so I could learn to do some armor builds, some weapon builds, things along those lines. Wig styling for that. Different clothing stitches for knitting. I can do a blanket, I can do a scarf. I'd like to do a hat, I'd like to do a sweater. In terms of new crafts, one that's very near and dear to my heart is stained glass. My mother was a very talented stained glass artist. She passed away a few years ago, and all of her stuff is sitting up in her craft room unused, and I think it's about time that I pulled that out and learned how to use it and learned how to carry that tradition on. Crochet. I would like to learn to crochet. It's a lot faster than knitting. I have a friend who does woodworking who's already said that she'd be happy to sit down and help me learn how to do some basic woodworking skills. I have another friend who does welding and metalwork. I'd like to learn how to do tatting lace, making chainmail jewelry, general jewelry making, paper crafts, quilting, you name it. Please do name it in the comments. Give me suggestions on things that you'd like to see on this channel, things that you'd like to learn, that we can learn together. So that's basically what I'd like the channel to be. There'll always be a couple things on the channel that are the same. I'll always talk a little bit about some of my current whips. Mostly cross stitch right now because I am in the middle of still trying to resolve the Great Christmas Panic of 2019, and those are all capital letters. So I have about 5 Christmas gifts that still aren't finished that I'm working frantically on, as well as a bunch of stitch-alongs that I'm working on. I'll probably do an episode just on stitch-alongs because I'm working on, I think, 6 of those right now. And they're really exciting, and I love to talk about them, and I love to show them off. Also, I'm a geek girl, I'm a fandom chick, so you're probably going to hear about what I've been watching, what I've been reading. Right now I'm not listening to a lot of podcasts, but I do at times. Right now I'm not listening to a lot of podcasts because I'm listening to the audiobook of Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. Amazing! If you have not read the Stormlight Archive series and you're into fantasy literature at all, this is a great series. I love it. Most of my friends that have read it, all of my friends that have read it, loved it. It's definitely worth a look. And in terms of watching, I just binged The Dragon Prince, the most recent season, in a day, and really enjoyed it. I really like that show. So that gives you an idea of the kind of things that you're going to hear about me reading and watching and enjoying and sharing with you, and hoping that you will enjoy. One other introduction I wanted to get over really quick. Hey, come here. Come here. Up here. Up here. This is Lexi. She's not getting into the frame too well. Hi, baby. Oh, yes. She's probably going to show up because she's usually in the room when I'm working, or she's making noise in the background. Oh, and now you're going to be down here? Hi. Hi, I love you. She's my rescue girl. I've had her about 3 years, and she's almost always in the room when I'm working, so she's probably going to pop up whether I wanted her to or not, so I thought I would introduce you to her. All right, now to the fun part, probably the only part that you care about, and that is some of my current whips. One of my favorites that I'm working on right now is the Enablers Temperature Stitch Along. The Enablers is a cross-stitch group. It was formed, I believe it was formed as a team for the Stiach Along, which will definitely be talked about at some point. But they kept going after the Stiach Along ended. They expanded. I came to them from a different team. And it's just a great community where they are what the name says. They are there to enable crafting. They do various stitch-alongs throughout the year, sibling exchanges, idea exchanges. Like, there'll be a day where they'll say, are you looking for something? Can somebody on here help you find it? What are you working on? We don't care if it's cross-stitch or something else. It's primarily a cross-stitch group. One of the things that they're doing is a temperature stitch-along. It was designed by one of the members, and basically every day we stitch a 5x5 square that represents the temperatures of the day. And in my case, I chose the high temperature, the low temperature, and the weather. So this is what mine looks like through January 27th. So this is the weather in central Indiana through all of January, and how it starts in the middle here, and it spirals out. And I think I'm going the wrong way because I'm backwards. Yes, it spirals out this way, so that you can see that this is the most recent day. And I love these colors. I'm using the recommended colors that they came up with, and I think they're gorgeous. So I really enjoyed that. Then again, I said I'm still working on Christmas gifts. I'm not sure if I should put any of those out because I know that the people who they're for might be watching, but a couple of them I can show you. First one, I got this pattern from Granny Panties on Etsy. It's Chrissy Knight. Your argument is invalid. I have a unicorn. I'm making that for a lawyer friend of mine. So anytime someone comes up with a legal argument that she doesn't like, she can just whip out her unicorn and automatically win the fight. That's the way law works, right? Another one I'm working on. And this one I don't have much more than the start of the words. And what this will say when it's done is, to quote Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 3, line 87, no. This is for a friend of mine who is an English major, a real Shakespeare buff, and has a very hard time saying no. So I thought he could use that reminder. And finally, this is a fandom piece I'm working on for a fellow anime fan. It's not come out very well yet, but I think if you know the show at all, you can tell that it's Natsu Dragneel. I mean, there's from Fairy Tail. There's not too many characters with that pink hair and a Fairy Tail guild mark, and then my needleminder over in the corner, Gray, is watching over my stitching to make sure I do it right. So that's a little bit about what I'm working on right now. As I said, I don't design any of my own patterns, so all of those links will be in the comments for this episode when I post it online. Please feel free to get in touch with me, give me ideas on things that you would like to see me work on, give me suggestions for shows and things, shows and books and computer games and podcasts that you think are worth a listen. I'm always trying to collect more, although right now I'm quite a bit behind on my reading and watching, so you'll hear me mentioning things that are kind of old, but they'll be new to me, and I'll be excited about them, and I'll want to gush about them. So that's it. There's my first floss tube video. I hope it wasn't too crazy. I hope that there was some interesting information in there, and I look forward to crafting with you. Have a great night. Bye.